Rockets have been seen on the Israel-Lebanon border. Hezbollah claimed its fighters had pushed back advancing Israeli troops in clashes along the length of the border, while sirens have sounded in northern Israel. Cross-border hostilities have continued in the southern Lebanese town of Qnews. Sirens sounded in northern Israel this morning following overnight airstrikes by Israel on the southern suburbs of Beirut. Dozens were killed and injured as a result of Israeli occupation warplanes bombing towns in southern Lebanon. The occupation raids targeted the town of Wardaniya in Mount Lebanon, the southern suburbs of Beirut, and the towns of Joya, Mahruna, Tibnin, Samaya, Tir Dibba, and Qnews in southern Lebanon. The warplanes also launched raids on the towns of Sarin, Al-Halaniya, and Al-Saida in Beqa Valley. Israeli airstrikes overnight have obliterated 4 residential buildings in the southern Beirut suburb of Dahya. Dozens were killed and injured as a result of Israeli occupation warplanes bombing towns in southern Lebanon. The Lebanese Health Ministry reported that the attacks resulted in 36 fatalities and left 150 individuals injured across the country. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned the Lebanese people that they risk falling into the abyss of a long war. Israel has expanded its ground offensive against Hezbollah by sending thousands more troops into a new zone in southwest Lebanon. Netanyahu also said that Israeli forces had taken out the would-be successors of late Hezbollah leader Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah without naming them during his televised address.
Just one day after the October 7th massacre a year ago, Hezbollah joined.
United Nations officials have expressed concern about the potential repetition of Gaza's humanitarian disaster in Lebanon amid escalating hostilities. Speaking at a press conference, Matthew Hollingworth, the World Food Programme's country director in Lebanon, said that in the past few weeks, about 1,900 hectares of agricultural land in southern Lebanon had been destroyed. Hollingworth called for preventing the tragedy of the Gaza Strip from being repeated in Lebanon.
Emptied, and many of these towns, villages, and suburbs now little more than rubble.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has made a strong appeal for an immediate ceasefire, both in Gaza and Lebanon. Speaking at a press conference, the UN chief said that the Middle East is a powder keg with many parties holding the match, and that attacks in Lebanon are threatening the entire region. Noting the worsening situation, the UN chief called for an immediate ceasefire and irreversible action for a two-state solution. Guterres also said that draft Israeli legislation that would stop the UN's Palestinian Refugee Agency working in the Gaza Strip and West Bank would be a catastrophe if enacted.
About draft legislation that could prevent UNRWA from continuing its essential work in the occupied Palestinian territory. Such a measure would suffocate efforts to...
The death toll in Lebanon from the ongoing Israeli attacks has risen to 2,119 since last October, with 10,019 others injured. According to the Lebanese Ministry of Public Health, there has been 36 fatalities and 150 injuries in the past 24 hours across various regions of Lebanon due to the Israeli attacks. Tensions between Hezbollah and Israel escalated following clashes in southern Lebanon, as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warns the Lebanese and puts conditions for defense minister's visit to Washington.